Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Very welcome, or at least karibu to this fine Friday morning for the Afriforex daily analysis session. Uh, Apologies for starting a few minutes late. There were some fundamentals that were coming out at 9 o'clock. Remember, 9 o'clock is the Frankfurt market open. So there are sometimes we will find some fundamentals that we do end up needing to change our watch list. So apologies for that, but glad that we're here. So we can be able to start now. So hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kanyaro. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Welcome to my Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, you do know during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we'll be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we do have John in the back office, so you'll be here to assist you with whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and you will get a response. But remember, if you'd like me to address any questions, feel free to ask those questions in the Q&A section, and I will address all of them at the end of it. So let's jump straight into it since we are a few minutes late, and we do want to be able to be on the charts by 10 o'clock, at least once the London market does end up open. So hope you can all see my screen. So today, our watch list has changed quite a bit. So you can clearly see what we were looking at yesterday and today is completely different. So yesterday, we were looking for buying opportunities on the New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, as well as the Canadian dollar. And we're looking to mix and match those three pairs with the pairs on the south side. So that's the Swiss franc, the euro, the US dollar, the British pound, as well as the Japanese yen. Now you can see there's been a number of pairs that have moved. Not necessarily many, actually. It's actually the British pound as well as the euro. So yesterday we did have them for a sell, but we did end up getting a bit of strength on the British pound yesterday. And right now we did end up having some euro fundamentals that did end up coming out strong. So we are going to be expecting some strength coming in on the euro. So this is going to be a watch list. So today we'll focus on the pairs on the sell side. So we'll mix and match the Swiss franc with all the pairs on the buy side. Do the same thing with the US dollar as well as the Japanese yen before we do look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So let's jump straight into the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be focusing on today before we do end up looking at a few screenshots. Then once we do that, we will focus on today's pairs. So we'll start off here with the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities on this kind of pair. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out. Now, wanted to see one of two options. Either this market actually coming down to where we could end up seeing some aggressive sellers, or if we did get the price at least coming very close towards the seller's area for us to potentially look for a sell. So unfortunately, that did not really work out. You can see the London market opened at 10. No real reaction where the buyers came in. The seller's attempt wasn't necessarily as strong, and you can clearly see that the market did end up attempting to go up higher. At 3 o'clock during the US market open, we're still holding below, but you can see later on, the price managed to reach and hold above. And this is around 4:30. Once the price is holding above, no trading opportunity just yet. And it seems that the market came close, but not necessarily all the way till our problem area before it did end up attempting to try and come down during the Asian session. What you can clearly see is how much it came down. This is mainly because of the New Zealand dollar actually trying to push this price down lower. But the fact that both of them technically were showing strength, it's not really going anywhere. You can clearly see the New Zealand trying to show strength is going to bring it down. The British pound showing strength is trying to bring it back up. So as you can clearly see, we've not really gone anywhere from yesterday. We're still around the same price. So unfortunately, there's no real trading opportunity for us yesterday on that pair. Similar situation with the British pound against the Australian dollar. The Australian dollar was meant to be showing us a lot more strength, and we will end up having a look at them on the other pairs. But it does seem that the British pound was also fighting with the Australian dollar, showing a bit of strength. And you can clearly see, we're hoping to see the price actually break in this area to the downside and holding below. The market attempted to do that during the London session, but the price ended up holding to the upside. We saw later on during 3 o'clock, the market attempted to try and come down. It was holding below, and you can see it has attempted to come down lower. But you can also clearly see the farthest that it has gone is still within this area. It's hardly gone anywhere at all. It's still holding within this particular same price. So the fact is, there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list today. And you can clearly see what we mentioned. When both pairs are on the same side, you could end up getting a fight within those pairs. So the next currency pair we did have was the British pound against Canadian dollar. British pound pairs did not work out well for us. You can clearly see during the London session, there was a small attempt to try and come down lower. Fortunately, we did not get all the way to the main sellers, but you can see the market attempted to try and come down lower. the fact that we could not breach and hold below. So most people, if you were jumping in on your sells when the price is all the way down there, you were clearly crying afterwards because remember, we always mention, let's get confirmation to see if a level has been broken. This price ended up probing, did end up giving us a small opportunity later on during the US session. Because you can see at 3, we attempted to try and come back within this particular area, which must be more clearer on the 3-minute time frame, where we can end up seeing the price did end up attempting to come down. You can clearly see from 330 or so, price came all the way back down to the main buyers area. But later on, around 4:30, price started going to the upside. And this was involved with the British pound strength. And you can clearly see once the price broke and held above this particular area, we did fall off our watch list and you can see the price continue to go up. So fortunately, that one did not work out as well. Now, moving on to the euro against the Canadian dollar. Yesterday, we were looking for selling opportunities on this kind of pair. You can even see the illustration that we had pointed out, looking for potential selling opportunities within this particular area. You can see the market did struggle, not necessarily taking off during the London session, even though the price was within the seller's area. You can see after it came down, the price was holding. It was actually a trading opportunity we did end up taking during the AMP class, the Forex Amplified class. Remember, there should be a link in the chat box, at least if you do want to sign up for that, because we do end up looking at the markets each and every day, looking for trading opportunities. We did end up getting a very nice one here, but if you notice the time, it actually started moving. This was just after 3 o'clock. So the London big boys did not have enough strength to move it, but at 3, that's when the price actually started coming down low. There was another small opportunity at 4:30, because you can see once the price broke this area to the downside, it held below. There was a small sell, but the market could not really go as far. And unfortunately, today, this affair that's going to be off our watch list, the euro fundamentals that just did come out, is meant to be showing us some strength, and you can see the price is actually starting to give us a pullback. So unfortunately for us, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. Now, another pair that we did end up looking at yesterday, as well as did end up catching it within the AMP class, was the euro against the Australian dollar. This pair really did work out quite well. You can even see the illustration that we had pointed out. Wanted to see the price coming back within this area and what kind of reaction we did end up seeing. So we did see the sellers coming in. In fact, in this one, we did end up going to a much smaller time frame. Remember, we keep on pointing out, if you do find a probe or a price action signal within one of the market opening time, it doesn't need to be exactly 10, but as long as it is within those timings, you can see the price came to the upside, could not hold above. The sellers came down aggressive, and the fact that the price was holding below the support and resistance area, that gave us a very nice selling opportunity. You can clearly see this was around 11 or so, just 1 hour into the London session. Stop loss within that top area. So that was an opportunity then, but you can clearly see the price did not actually start taking off until 3 o'clock. So even if you were just holding the market within here, looking for a selling opportunity within the top right there, the price still managed to come all the way down, giving us a very big risk to reward. And that was only just still targeting that particular area. But if you do notice, at 4:30, it did end up giving us another opportunity to come down lower. So that's the reason why we also point out this market opening time. So at 4:30, we do end up moving this to exactly 4:30 to see where it was. Can clearly see after the price broke this area to the downside, we did get a pullback holding within the bottom of that particular area that could have actually given us another selling opportunity on this kind of stuff. So trade worked out quite well. Unfortunately for us today, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list. You can even see the sellers are actually slowing down. All those people who are jumping in on the sell at the top are definitely closing all their profits right here. So they will end up selling to all the late buyers. All the late sellers. So unfortunately, you don't necessarily want to be one of those. So in this situation, we'll actually just be on the sidelines and look for more opportunities elsewhere. So last but not least, we did have the euro against the New Zealand dollar. The euro pair seemed to work out quite well. Remember, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities on this pair. Did point out that there was a small buyer's area here that we should watch out for. Even if we did end up seeing the price holding below initially, when we were having this session early in the morning, wanted to see at least some sort of breach and hold below. Can't say that did not happen until 3 o'clock. The price managed to start coming down. Later on at around 4:30 or so, this same illustration that we're hoping to see, it's exactly what happened, although it did come in a bit later on. But there was a pullback when the price managed to actually hold below, giving us another selling opportunity. So this trade worked out quite well. It's unfortunately for us today, this is going to be a pair that's off our watch list. So that's all the pairs for review. So right now, we're going to jump straight into today's pairs. No, sorry, apologies for that. Let's first look at a few screenshots that we did manage to get before we do jump on to today's pair. So First off, we'll start off with Beatrice. So Beatrice, you did manage to grab a very, very nice buying opportunity on gold. Very nice buy right there at the bottom. You can see the price really going up in your favor. Very good placement of your stop loss. It is below the buyers who actually started pushing to the upside. So you're hiding your stop loss behind the wall. So very well done. You take profit within a seller's area. So very, very good job on this trade, Beatrice. Keep up the good work that you're doing as well. So also next we get George. George again, you managed to grab a buying opportunity on the British pound against the Japanese yen. Seems you did end up noticing some strength on the British pound yesterday. So happy to take advantage of that. You bought within an area where the buyers, which we're always very happy to see. The stop loss is within an area where the sellers, and you have already managed your trade with your stop loss being within break-even point. So very, very good job on that trade, George. And also next we get Peter. Peter, I think this is one of your first screenshots that you are managing to send to us. So thank you so much for that. So you did manage to grab a buying opportunity on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Very nice buying opportunity right there where the buyers are. We can clearly see the price is really going up in your favor. Now, in this situation where your stop loss is, it's not necessarily behind the wall. You notice this previous screenshot, you want necessarily your stop loss to be under the buyers who are pushing to the upside. Now, you can clearly see where your stop loss is. It could potentially still pull back to that area and still go to the upside. Remember, as long as these buyers are the ones who are pushing up, it's still going to has a possibility of continuing to go up. But you need to give the market space for those pullback. But still, very, very good job on this trade, and keep up the good work that you're doing and keep sending in those screenshots. We really appreciate that. So remember, guys, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details should be there in the chat box. So let's jump straight into today's pairs. So we'll start off with the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side. Do the same thing with the US dollar as well as the Japanese yen before we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. Remember, yesterday our bias here was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the three areas that I had pointed out. Earlier in the morning, the price was within this particular area. Did tell you to watch out for these sellers, or at least we were watching out for these sellers right here, because we knew that they could potentially end up giving us issues. The market ended up actually giving us a pullback, and you can see at 10, the price was within that seller's area, and those sellers actually started giving us that pullback coming down. It was only until the price came back within this buyer's area that we did end up having. And if you notice at 3 o'clock, that's when the price managed to actually take off to the upside. We're hoping to see something similar like here, where the price could actually break and hold above this these sellers right here, and there could have been a potential buy. And you can see that ended up happening within this particular area right here, where the price managed to break to the upside and hold above. And if you do notice, that was around 4:30. So the reason why we keep on mentioning these times, they do end up giving us an opportunity. As well, it does seem as if today morning as well, like once the price did manage to break to the upside, you can see the Asian big boys have attempted to go to the upside. This has something to do with the New Zealand dollar pairs, which we'll end up having a look at as well. But overall today, the bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we have identified 3 areas of interest that the buyers could potentially work out from. Right here, we have a major seller's area right there at the top that we're approaching. So the fact that we're so close to that seller's area, we don't want to jump into any buying opportunities just yet. What I would be waiting for is potentially a pullback. Remember, in order for us to buy something, most people, when they go to the shops, you don't necessarily want to buy at the most expensive price. Regardless of whether or not you know that the market, or at least the price, is going to go higher, you would still want to end up getting a discount. So it's a similar situation. Even if we know the price might end up going up higher, what we'd want to see is potentially a pullback coming in within this particular area. We do see the prices holding or giving us some sort of slowdown within this area. We could potentially end up seeing a buying opportunity there. But for now, the main thing that we'll possibly be waiting for is some sort of discount. Obviously, we'd want the market to come down within this particular area, but do take note of certain support and resistance areas. This one even has very many. You can clearly see even the area that we did have yesterday. The buyers did end up reacting, attempting to go up. The reason why we have a major SNR right here lower than this particular level is because the fact that the buyers don't seem to have been able to go up any higher than this right now, there's a possibility we could need a better price. So if we do end up getting the price now needing to come down lower, at that point in time, all those people who are jumping in on buys, the late buys, would end up getting stopped out, maybe even jumping in on sells. And that's the reason why we'd always wait for some sort of probe or price action signal for us to potentially look for those buying opportunities on this currency pair. So that's what we wait to see. So let me just illustrate that quickly. So hopefully if we do get something like this, we see the market actually holding to the upside, could end up potentially looking for buys, or watch out for where the price is at when the market opening time. You find it within a buyer's area. You can clearly see yesterday, but within an area of buyers, and at 3 p.m., that's when the prices actually started taking off. So do take note of that as well. So hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. So moving on to the next kind pair, we did have the Australian dollar against Swiss franc. Similar situation yesterday. Our bias here was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the buys did work out quite well. Now, initially wanted to see whether or not the price was actually going to break and hold above within this area. You can see it did end up attempting. When the price came up, it never actually held above, and at 10 it came back down. So we wanted to see what happened. And you can clearly see at 3 o'clock, even though we did not get all the way to our main buyers area right there, if you do take note of where you are, you can clearly see this is an area where buyers have reacted from before. And you can see that's exactly where the price just bounced off from to actually go to the upside. So even though we do mention all these levels, do just take note of buy with buyers and sell with sellers. That's one main thing that we keep on pointing out. So the trade worked out very nicely during the London session. Similar situation, there was a small pullback and hold above this area, continue to the upside. Now today, buyers here is still going to be looking for these buying opportunities on this kind of pair. Right now, we're within an area where the sellers, so not a good place to look for your buys. Hopefully, we can end up getting this pullback coming in. So if I do see some sort of pullback coming right here, because clearly these buyers are attempting to go up. They don't necessarily seem as strong, but even if they do seem a bit stronger or starting to get stronger, the fact that we're within a seller's area, it reduces our probability of that trade working out. Ideally, if we are able to get the price potentially coming in a bit lower, we could potentially look for that buying opportunity there. Or it could even come back down all the way to this main red support and resistance area here. This is also a major SNR level. Based on how aggressive the price push to the upside, you could potentially find that this market, not necessarily expecting support and resistance area, could be in some sort of channel, because you can clearly see, at least if I do end up illustrating quickly, should be able to see that the market is not necessarily making those big high highs and high lows, but we are still maintaining within some sort of channel. So you don't necessarily disregard that this level or this price is actually breaking to the downside and it's now a sell. You could easily find the price is just pulling back all the way to this particular area before you do see the prices going to the upside. So we wait to see what ends up happening on the Australian dollar against Swiss franc, but that's what we'll be waiting for. If we do end up seeing the price breaking and holding to the upside, definitely we will be looking for a buying opportunity on this, but we'll need to be careful, especially based on the larger time frames. Based on the larger time frames, you can clearly see we've been coming down for quite a bit. We are approaching areas where sellers could potentially react from. Maybe this is just a pullback before the markets come down. And that's the reason why we always point out, make sure to manage your trade within those problem areas. So hope that's clear as we move on to the next Swiss franc pair, which is the Canadian dollar against Swiss franc. Similar correlation came in with most of these kinds of pairs, especially the Swiss franc pairs, where during the London session, nothing much happened, just ended up giving us some sort of small pullback. And you can clearly see at 3 o'clock, that's when the price actually did take off to the upside. Around 4:30 did give us another opportunity, although the price was within this seller's area, but we did end up seeing the price reaching and holding above, which did give us another buying opportunity. At least if you were there within those market opening times, could have actually found a nice buy there. But today, we are seeing the price continue to go up higher. We will still be looking for buying opportunities on the Canadian dollar against Swiss franc. So we'll be focusing on these three areas of interest. If you do take note, right now we're so close within an area where the sellers have reacted from there before. So we do not want to jump in on any buying opportunities just yet. We need one of two things to happen, either a breach to the upside and a hold above. We don't necessarily want the price going all the way up and you being a late buyer, just jumping in on your buys all the way at the top. Get confirmation once the price comes down. The price ends up holding above, you can be able to look for a buy. But I think for this one, the best choice would be to actually wait where the price comes down lower, because we do end up having this major support and resistance area. And you can see the way the buyers came up quite aggressive. We've seen this many times on the chart. It has a high likelihood of actually pulling back to this middle SNR area here before looking for a buy. So what you can do rather than just waiting, can even potentially set alerts. So you don't necessarily need to be in front of your computer the whole time. If the price is able to come back there, you get notified, then you can decide on how did the price get there. Is it there within one of the market opening times that we keep on pointing out? Then you could potentially end up finding a very nice buying opportunity then. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But remember, as long as we're holding above the red SNR, our bias should still be to look for buying opportunities. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, which we do have. This is the British pound against the Swiss franc, brand new entry on our watch list. So you can clearly see the area where we're at. Similar correlation also with the Canadian dollar against Swiss franc. The fact that we've just managed to really make some new highs, going to the upside, we're holding within an area where there are sellers. So one of two things can happen. Remember, either a pullback could come in, and this is the best area that we would be looking for buying opportunities from within this particular area. But the fact that they all look the same, as you can clearly see the Canadian dollar against Swiss franc, you can go to the Australian dollar against Swiss franc, just holding within that seller's area. You can clearly see that they are quite correlated. So if the price is able to break this area to the upside, or at least you find one of them doing something similar where it actually breaks this area to the upside and you get a pullback and the price falls above, you should be able to look for buys. If you do see it on one, have a look at the other pairs. If you do see them happening on multiple currency pairs, that gives you more clarification and confirmation that the price is actually going to the upside. So at that point in time, you can be able to take advantage of that. But for now, I think we'll just be patient, wait to see whether or not that breach goes to the upside, or potentially if we do end up getting a pullback coming in. So you can be able to set alerts on both areas. So once you hear an alert, you're aware of what exactly is happening. So hope that's clear. As we move on to the next and last Swiss franc pair, which is the euro against Swiss franc. Similar correlation coming in. All of them are within areas where they're sellers. But I'd be very interested to see what the London big boys do. Will they have enough strength to actually break this area to the upside? And if they do, we'll wait for that hold above. If we do see that, definitely I will be looking for buying opportunities. At least we as the Afriforex team will definitely be looking for buying opportunities there. But remember, since we're within an area where the sellers and it's about to be the market opening time, we will not be surprised whatsoever if the price actually, these sellers react, giving us a pullback, potentially coming back within this support and resistance area before we're able to see some buying opportunity. You can see how aggressive they've come up. The fact that we've come back to challenge this seller. Look at how the seller reacted the first time, or at least the last time it was there, quite aggressive. Right now, not necessarily as aggressive, and the buyers still look quite strong. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. But we'll most likely we could end up getting that pullback coming in within this SMA. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on this pair. So I hope that's clear on the euro against Swiss franc, as we have mixed and matched all the Swiss franc pairs with the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to do the same thing with the US dollar pairs. So we'll start off with the US dollar, the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Now in this kind of pair, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities. It is still the same situation today. Can clearly see the three areas that we had pointed out. Wanted to see whether or not the buyers could end up reacting within this particular area. At 10 o'clock during the London session, it actually gave us a pullback. So you can see from 10 o'clock being there, the market managed to come all the way down. And if you notice, it came within a small buyer's area right there where it could not actually break. And if you do note the timing that the price was there, it seems that the sellers actually pushed down at 3, but the price was within this buyer's area at 4:30. And if you did not necessarily look for a trading opportunity there, remember we keep on talking about let's wait to see some sort of probe or price action signal. And if you do notice, the price attempted to break this area. This whole time, it has not been able to. You can clearly see the price was holding, attempting to break the downside, not once. This is the furthest it went to. But even at that point in time, when it came back, the fact that it did not hold below, you can clearly see the price came back in, confirming that that was a probe. And you can clearly see, if you were focusing on this seller's area here, you can clearly see the fact that the price actually held above that support and resistance area. There could have actually been a very nice buying opportunity there. Even though during the US session, the price did not necessarily move as aggressive, but you can clearly see during the Asian session, the price going up quite higher, and that has something to do with the New Zealand dollar pairs. So today, buyers is still going to be looking for buying opportunities, so we'll have adjusted the level slightly. So we'll be looking for buys based on these 3 levels. You can clearly see the market attempting to go up higher. We have identified there's a major seller's area right there at the top that we do need to watch out for. We do have these 2 support and resistance areas that we'll be looking out to see if we can get a pullback to one of them. Obviously, the first one we'll be watching out for is this one, because this is a level that has just been broken based on the Asian session where the price has gone up higher. So let's hope to see. You can end up either getting this pullback coming in, and it's already here before, or at least around 10 o'clock. You could end up finding the market going to the upside. But you could also end up finding during the London session, we actually just get that pullback coming in. It's very slowly. And at 3 o'clock, once the US market does end up opening, could end up finding a nice buying opportunity. Similar situation to what happened yesterday. Might not necessarily happen at 3, could end up being 4:30 as well. But ideally, we'll wait to see within these areas of interest how the prices are going to react. So I hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. As we move on to the next US dollar pair, which is the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Now, in this kind of pair, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the 3 areas, or at least the 3 areas we had pointed out, looking for buys. Now, the price was within the seller's area, and we did not want to jump in on buying opportunities within the seller's area. And you can see the price kept on holding throughout the London session. It didn't matter how aggressive the buyers came in. The fact that the price was holding within here was a bit risky, just looking for your buy. Imagine if you just jumped in on a buy. You can see how many times the market kept on coming down. This would have definitely given you a headache. But it was at 4:30. Remember, it needs a big boy to actually take the price up higher. So at 4:30, we did manage to get the price going out to the upside. And if you realize, market, we always waiting for a pullback to come in to get confirmation. Price is actually holding above for you to actually continue looking for buying opportunities. All this did come in a bit later, around 7 o'clock or so, 6 or 7. But the price still managed to go up higher quite nicely, mainly during the US session. So you can clearly see yesterday, London big boys were not interested. The Asian big boys started the interest very much to the upside, as you can clearly see since they were buying during the Asian session. The London big boys, very much not interested. The US big boys, you can clearly see, did want to continue going to the upside. So when we talk about timing, sometimes people ask, when exactly should I enter my trade? Remember, the timing that we point out, if it lines up with your price action signals, or ideally the things that you're waiting for to see. We identified buyers and sellers within a particular area, or let's say if you're looking for a pullback, price within this particular support and resistance area right here, and we do see some sort of probe or price action signal, or let's say the price ends up holding, and you find the price is there within the market opening time, that one will give you a much higher probability of the market moving to the upside. So you can use that. If you find the market just ranging and holding throughout the whole time and it's not necessarily moving, rather than sticking to that trade or waiting to see or deciding to close it early, we can be able to note that if it hasn't moved, then you're a bit early. You can end up waiting for the market session to open to rely on a specific big boy to actually push the market up high. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Right now, we're so close within the seller's AM. You can't even see the way the sellers are reacting, but that doesn't mean that the sellers are on. Remember, we want to see either a reach to the upside, or for us, what I'll be waiting for is a pullback to come in, potentially look for that buying opportunity on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So moving on to the next US dollar pair we do have, this is the US dollar against Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. We do realize the market structure being a very important thing. We do seem to be in a range. So the fact that we're within a range at 10 o'clock, price within a buyer's area, no selling opportunities for us. You can see the price managed to go all the way to the upside, and you can realize that the price did end up giving us a very nice probe. If you do take note of the time, that was at exactly 4:30 that the price managed to actually come down lower. So that did give us a very nice opportunity. So overall today, bias here is still to look for selling opportunities. The fact that within this bias area, don't necessarily think that exactly what's going to happen yesterday is going to happen today. Remember, we need to see what is actually going to happen. Don't trade what you think, trade what you actually see. So in this situation, we'll be waiting to see one of two things. Either the fact that it is within a range, then we'll want to see potentially some sort of pullback coming in within this particular area, something similar to yesterday for us to look for a sell. I would not necessarily be looking for the buys within that particular area, even though we're within a range and it did work out yesterday, because you never know whether or not the buyers are still strong to hold the market. What could end up expecting is something similar to what we're hoping to see yesterday. We are able to get the price breaching and holding. So if the market is able to breach its area to the downside, it does hold below, then should be able to continue looking for sales. In fact, the fact that the market is ranging, once it breaks one of the areas to the upside or to the downside, has a high probability of testing that area. If it's a real breach, then the market is most likely to really take off on that area. But take note of probes, because the markets, or at least ranging markets, also probe quite a bit or spike. So do take note of that. So I hope that's clear on what we're looking at doing on the US dollar against Canadian dollar. We're still within a seller's market, potentially entering some sort of range, but the fact that within a buyer's area, it's not a good place to look for your sells. Just wait for that level to be breached, or let's get the sells within an area where sellers are. So moving on to the next US dollar pair, these are brand new entries on our watch list. And here we have the British pound against the US dollar. You can clearly see the British pound has been showing a bit of strength. And we have seen them on actually, the markets have been going up. I think we also looked at the British pound against the New Zealand dollar, and we did see how aggressive this market has been going to the upside. So today, buyers is definitely going to be looking for buys into the brand new entrant. You can see we're attempting to break this area, but this has not confirmed that this level has been broken. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting that pullback coming in. At least if it does end up holding above that area, that gives you a higher likelihood of being able to look for the buy. But we've seen this many times. All those people are just excited with the buy. All them they're seeing, or at least their eyes just go to this big move, and they're thinking there's going to be another big move to the upside, not necessarily realizing that what if this is just a probe? And how did the buyers, they were quite strong going to the upside. But now, where is their strength going, right? They do seem to be struggling, especially if you compare the fact how they were going up this time to how they're coming up this time. So in this situation, I wouldn't be surprised if the price actually does something like this, gives us some sort of probe, comes all the way down, incites people to look for the sells, because by the time that the price actually goes below this support and resistance area, most people there end up getting stopped out. They'll start jumping in on selling opportunities, not realizing that that was just something to incite the sellers or to chase out all those people who are buying, so that the main buyers can actually end up taking off to the upside. So wait to see what ends up happening, but be careful. If the price actually goes above, then we should end up being able to continue looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be very interested to see how this market reacts, and potentially even just put an alert there so to see how the market ends up actually pulling back. If it goes straight through, then you know no buying opportunity just yet. If it comes in and do still see the price actually holding above, there is potential for the price to continue going up higher. So hope that's clear. As we move on to the next, in last US dollar pair, which we do have, is the euro against the US dollar. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. Now, these three areas are not just out of nowhere. I think if we do end up zooming out slightly, you'll realize we do seem to be in some sort of range, bouncing between these levels. This was just a huge probe, so the market has not actually broken this level to the downside. So overall, we'll still be looking for buying opportunities on this. Right now, it does seem to be holding or potentially reaching this area to the upside. So if it does hold above, there could be a potential buy. I'll not be 100% sure about that, mainly because we're not necessarily a big fan of looking for any trading opportunities within a range. Obviously, the best place to look for the buying opportunities at the bottom. If you're looking for sales, it would be at the top. So I think for this one, wait to see if it does end up holding. But if it does end up coming back in and holding below, then I would be waiting to see how the market ends up approaching this particular area, or could potentially end up seeing a buy. You can clearly see this was a huge probe that didn't end up happening when the price came down and came back up, but we've not tested this area. Usually probes end up coming back to that level that was reached before it ends up attempting to go up higher. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But I think for this one, I'll be more comfortable looking for the buying opportunity down here at the bottom. But if we are able to see the price holding above, there could be potential buys, but just be careful. Because remember, there's so many problem areas right here on the way to the upside. So hope that's clear as we're done with the US dollar pairs. So we're going to move on to the Japanese yen pairs and mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. It is still the same situation today, and we pretty much even have the exact same areas. Now, yesterday, we're looking for buying opportunities, and I did point out some specific areas that we could potentially wait to see what ends up happening. Now, remember, this price did seem as if it was holding right within this particular area, or at least below this area. So you can see the illustration that we did want. If we're able to get the price breaking and holding above, there could be a potential buying opportunity with your stop loss, depending on where the buyers did end up pushing up. Now, at 10 o'clock, that did not happen. In fact, they attempted to try and come down lower. So there was no trading opportunity just yet. But if you realize 3 p.m. during the US market open, the price actually shot to the upside. And you can see there was a pullback and the price actually held. So this trade could have actually ended up working out later, but possibly within that particular time. So the exact same thing that we're looking to see happen ended up happening a bit later on, but that was based on during the US session. Still managed to give us a nice 1:2, going all the way to the main sellers at the top. So the fact is, we're within an area where the sellers no jumping in on buying opportunities just yet. I would not be surprised if this price actually attempts to try and come down lower. even potentially even coming back within this particular support and resistance area before able to see a buying opportunity. So I think that's what we're going to see. You can't even see the fact that the price has actually given a probe. You can't, there's a possibility that this price could just be coming back within that particular area before it ends up coming down. But remember, if we are able to get the price breaking and holding above, so the price is able to go to the upside, and you do see the price holding above, then should be able to continue looking for buys. It all depends on how this market reacts in this area. But let's wait to see what ends up happening on the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. So moving on to the next yen pair, we do have the Australian dollar against Japanese yen. Similar correlation. Now, this one would have been a bit difficult to get, even we just missed it slightly, just based on the fact that we wanted to look for the buys, but you can clearly see at 10 o'clock, the price was holding below the support and resistance area. We wanted to see at least some sort of breach and hold above. So at 3 o'clock, we did get the price really going to the upside. Unfortunately, we could not get that pullback coming in. Even at 4:30, there was a small pullback, but that one would have also been a bit difficult to get. So we did not get this one, even though the market opening times, the things that we keep on mentioning are still working. The fact that at 3 o'clock, that's when the market actually took off to the upside. Keep on mentioning, watch out for these problem areas. We did not manage. You can clearly see how many issues it is giving. So this is what we mean by problem areas. So it's definitely giving all the problems to the buyers who wanted the price to go up. So here today, the buyers, we will still be looking for buying opportunity. Let's have adjusted the level slightly. But that within a seller's area, there's no buying opportunity just for us yet until we potentially either get a pullback coming in or a breach to the upside. So a breach to the upside, if we do see the price holding above, then there could be a buying opportunity there. But for now, we'll wait to see if we can end up potentially getting some sort of pullback coming in within this SNR area before we're able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the yen. As we move on to the next yen pair, so we do have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Similar situation to what we had yesterday, pretty much similar levels. Still looking for those buying opportunities. And you can see yesterday the buys did work out quite well. This one was much better in comparison to the Australian dollar against the yen. Remember, the Australian dollar against the yen, the price was actually holding below a support and resistance area. So we do not want to just go full force and right there in front of you is a wall. I don't think you'd end up with deciding to get into a car and start driving and there's a wall right in front of you. What you can clearly see on the Canadian dollar against the yen, this one was a bit different. At least this one did manage to go to the upside. You can see the pullback. The price was holding above within this particular area. It ended up giving us some sort of small probe. You can see the sellers came in struggling at 3 o'clock. That's when the price actually took off to the upside, coming all the way back to the main sellers area at the top. So overall, today we'll still be looking for buying opportunities. What you might end up finding, remember, we also focus on what is the market structure. We do seem as if we could potentially be in some sort of range, bouncing between these levels. So we wait to see. Obviously, if we're ranging, the best place to look for your buying opportunities within the middle of the range. We wait to see if we can end up getting some sort of pullback within this area for us to look for a buy. But similar correlation, since we're dealing with the yens, if we do end up seeing one of them reaching to the upside and we do see all of them holding above, there's a high likelihood they could also end up all doing the same thing to go to the upside. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But for now, since we're within a seller's area, it would be quite risky looking for those sells since the fundamentals are telling us we should still be looking for the buys. So we'll wait to see either a breach or an area where there are buyers. So moving on to the next pair, we do have the British pound against the Japanese yen. Brand new entry in our watch list, and overall on this kind of pair, we will be looking for buying opportunities. We'll be focusing on these three areas. We realize the same correlation with all these yen, but within an area where the sellers, we need one of two things. Either this pullback comes in within this particular area for us to look for a buy, or we'll actually start getting the prices breaking and holding above these support and resistance areas. You can clearly see all the yen pairs are pretty much doing the exact same thing. So if you do see one of them breach, let's have a look at all of them, and you could end up finding some nice trading opportunities. But remember, even if all of them, you see them doing the exact same thing, we encourage you not to necessarily enter trades on all of them. You need to end up managing your risk and splitting your risk. You don't put all your money on the yens, buying them, and you find them actually going to the opposite side. So always make sure you're also dealing with your risk management properly as well. So as the saying goes, do not put all your eggs in one basket. So moving on to the last kind of pair that we do have is the euro against the Japanese yen, brand new entry in our watch list. You can see the similar correlation with all these yen pairs. One thing we first also need to note is, first of all, what direction are we going? In this situation, we're going to the upside. In terms of the market structure, it does seem we could potentially be in some sort of range. So similar situation with the other ones. Wait to see, hopefully we can end up getting the price pulling back within this particular buyer's area for us to look for buys. Alternatively, we could end up easily finding these prices breaking, holding above, for the prices actually continue going to the upside. So it'll be very interested to see what ends up happening on the euro against the Japanese yen. So hope that's clear on all the currency pairs. As you can clearly see, what mix and match all the pairs on the sell side with the pairs on the buy side. So right now, we end up having a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So starting off with the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones have actually been acting quite similar. So here on the NAS 100, we are seeing that we were looking for buying opportunities. We can see the buys did work out quite well, even though you can see at 10 o'clock, the price attempted to try and come down lower, could not, but you can see the price was actually holding within this area. Did give us a buying opportunity, but if you realize the market only took off from 3 o'clock. So from 3, we entered the trade any earlier, it could have still worked out quite well, but it was only until 3 that the market did end up taking off to the upside. You can see what we're also illustrating. If you could end up getting the price reaching and holding above, this was at 4:30, although when we end up going down to a smaller time frame, this one was a bit difficult to try and catch. It did end up really going a bit quickly. So overall, you can see the market structure does seem to be in a range where the price is bouncing between these levels right here. But we'll be waiting to see what ends up happening on this pair. The fact that we are within a range, this price, it does look as if it has attempted to break or has broken this level, but a lot of times we're not very convinced, especially when it does something like what it's doing now. In terms of if the market is really breaking a level, usually you'll find the market really going to the upside and that pullback will come in slowly, right? But when it does something like this where it goes to the upside, then you find it just ranging between that level. It hasn't really gone anywhere. You might find all those late buyers jumping in on buys. You won't be surprised that the market actually starts coming back in and going to the downside and still respecting the range that we're in. So that's the reason why we still have pretty much those same areas. However, we have added one more level just based on if we do actually get confirmation that the price is actually holding above within this area, we could easily see the price pulling back all the, or at least coming all the way back to this particular area right here, around 14,661. So we wait to see what ends up happening. But in this situation, I'll wait to see how the prices actually come down. I'm thinking the prices could end up actually giving us more of a pullback on this one. So we wait to see what ends up happening, but that will be the game plan for the NAS 100. So hope that's clear for everyone as we move on to the next indice, which is the US 30. So you can see the same correlation coming in, although this currency pair we were looking for selling opportunities. Now, the fact is, we can clearly see the big range that we're in. And these are the main sellers who have been pushing to the downside. You can clearly see pushing to the downside. Every time the price approaches there, you can see the aggression of the sellers coming down. Now, if you notice, the price is back within this area, and it does look a bit similar to the NAS 100. And the fact that we're within a range and we're at the top of the range, would not be surprised that this price still ends up respecting these same levels and we find the market actually coming down lower. I think on this one, what we'll be waiting to see, we realize there's a small bias area that does seem to be holding in this particular area here. I think if you do want to end up being safe with yourselves, at least that's what we'll do, possibly wait for a breach of that level, look for a pullback within that area to potentially look for selling opportunities. But even if I'm looking for such a sell, don't forget about these problem areas. If buyers have pushed up before, they could push up from those areas again. So those are the locations where you're not saying close your trades, but just make sure. For us, what we do, we set alerts within such areas and we make sure to see how is the price approaching that area to make sure we manage our trade, either moving our stop loss closer or either closing some of the position. But if you don't see any slowdown, sometimes you even just leave it, or even you could find a potential to actually end up jumping in again. Let's say if the price breaks and holds below, there could be another point to end up adding size or at least position to that particular trade. But overall today, buyers here is still going to be looking for sells. Once we do get a proper confirmation, I think the main thing or what we're trying to see is if we get the price really breaking the upside on that pullback, that's when we end up now changing direction and start looking for buying opportunities on the Dow Jones. But the fact that we're still within this major sellers area, We'll be very interested to see how this price reacts within that location. So hope that's clear on the US 30. So as we move on to the next pair that we do have, which is silver. Now on silver, I think this one need to end up maybe going up to one higher time frame. Can see the overall story. The fact that the price has been coming to the downside. There was a pullback where the price did end up attempting to try and come down lower. The fact that we could not, and remember we did point this out yesterday, that this price that we did end up having yesterday was not good enough and we might need a better price. And you can clearly see a better price from where the price attempted to go and we have not been able to actually make a new low. So it was no surprise that the price actually managed to start coming to the upside, but overall, you can clearly see we're still in this seller's market. If you compare how the sellers came down with how the buyers have been struggling, then clearly we are still in a seller's market. And that's why we're still going to be looking for sales. Now, we'll be very interested to see, or at least still respecting the same areas that we did have yesterday. So the main sellers are still within this particular area. We do have a support and resistance area where we're at right now, and we could end up potentially finding this market reacting. So let me just remove these levels right here to make things slightly clearer. So, the fact is the buyers have been coming up quite aggressive. You can see they're very much aggressive. You can even see the illustration that we had pointed out. Wanted to see whether or not that pullback was actually going to come in or if we did end up getting a breach to the downside. So the pullback came in, was within these areas around the market opening times, but you can see how the bars are starting to slow down. You can see the price has not been able to actually break this area just yet. You can see the first time it probed, second time I probed, third time I probed. Even right now, the price has gone to the upside. As it's pulled back, you can clearly see it's not actually held above this area. So this SNR area is still holding. So our bias here is still to look for selling opportunities. I think in this situation, the area that you should be watching out for, at least on the minor scale, would possibly within these buyers. You can see the fact that these buyers do seem to be the one holding the market right now. Maybe if the price is able to actually come down lower, reach and hold below, I think I'd be comfortable looking for a selling opportunity there. But even if I'm looking for a sell there, watch out for all these problem areas on the way. But if the price actually ends up holding to the upside, then there's a possibility we could still be giving us a much bigger, deeper pullback, potentially then coming back all the way to this particular area before we do end up seeing the selling opportunities coming down on silver. So we wish to see what ends up happening there. But for now, this would be an area of interest that we'll be looking to see what happens there. So last but not least, we do have gold. And gold did something similar basically with silver. So yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Remember, we did point out that the area that we did sell from, so the first day, the price did manage to come down here, did end up getting a pullback. So we're expecting these sellers to be able to make a new low. The fact that they couldn't, we did know that we needed a better price than this particular area. So the fact that the price has managed to go up, you can see the illustration. We're hoping to see whether or not the price was actually going to end up holding within this area. You can see we did end up attempting. This was around 430 when it was within the seller's area. So we're hoping to see the sellers come down, but they couldn't. Where the price managed to actually break this area to the upside, did seem to be holding above. But if you realize, since then, since the price has managed to go up within this area, we do take note of the highest point. We've not actually really made any new highs. So it seems that the buyers who attempted to go up, look at how much they're struggling at this point in time. And it does seem as if we're potentially turning around or getting some sort of rollover of the market. So overall, the buyers here today is still going to be looking for selling opportunities, pretty much having the exact same areas that we did have yesterday. But what we want to see is if the price is actually going to be able to come back in and hold below. Remember, the whole point is for people to be incited. Everyone was jumping in on sales. Everyone had seen that the market was going down. But right now, most people are confused and they're possibly thinking, oh, it's no longer a sell, it's a buy. And that's what we sellers want right now, for people to be incited. So we won't be surprised if the price actually ends up coming back down lower. You see the price holding below, this would be a very nice selling opportunity to take it down lower. Definitely watching out for these problem areas that we did have, because we can't even see it. Once the price broke this area to the upside, if you get a pullback and the price is holding above this area. So it's definitely an area of interest that you should potentially manage your trade. If we do see the price continue to go up higher, because right now we don't want to just jump in on selling opportunities, even though it does seem to be slowing down. The fact that we're within a buyer's area, remember we talked about not driving straight into a wall. So we want at least, let's pass the wall first before we are actually able to continue looking for those selling opportunities on gold. So I guess that's pretty much it for all the kinds of pairs. As you can clearly see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the sell side with the pairs on the buy side. So right now, can be able to look at some questions on the Q&A section if there are any. So not seeing much. I'm seeing Esther Kabiri saying good morning, Mitch and the team. Good morning, Esther. Glad to see you here. Happy Friday to you too. So, not seeing any more questions, which is okay. Remember, we do need to jump onto the charts. So do remember, make sure that you're actually in the Telegram channel. We do have some fundamentals coming out. You can see some Swiss franc fundamentals. The only other thing that's going to be coming out is news during the US session. And it's not even any USD news. You can see it's mainly CAD news and employment news. So there could be some volatility on the CAD pairs later on. All these other ones are not necessarily going to have really much of an impact on the market. So wait to see what ends up happening with the Swiss franc pairs. We'll end up informing you on the Telegram channel. So we could end up finding a link right there in the chat box. But for now, the watch list will remain the same. So I guess that's it for me and from us. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you guys have found value in this session. Remember, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are there in the chat box. Remember, we do have a few slots remaining for the AMP program, where remember, if you want to be able to sit down with us every morning, so immediately after this session right now, we're actually going to be finishing up here, jumping in with the AMP class, and looking for trading opportunities, seeing where money can come back. We'll wait, one day we should end up hearing from some of these students. At least you don't necessarily only take our word for it. So I want to thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have an amazing trading day, a great weekend as well. Cheers, guys. God bless. And bye for now.